Hey, you guys, welcome to our very first ever episode of Calls with Paul, and we're excited to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Of course, I don't think it'd be Calls with Paul without.
Tell them thank you.
Oh, thank you for joining us. If anybody's paying attention out there, we're excited to have you. And hopefully, we'll go over some really interesting stuff that'll change your life, or where you can give friends good advice, or even send a referral. We have some cool things to talk about. The number one thing is Compass Concierge, which is a home preparation program where we'll help fund home improvement projects that are non-construction, but rather deal with things like paint and landscape. And
well, before we dive into that, let's talk a little bit about today's economy, right? Like, so we've seen some rate changes in the interest rates. We've seen the market sort of shifting a little bit. If someone is thinking about selling their home, what do you think is the right time of the year for them to get maximum value?
So when I just have my way for when somebody lists, it's really the last week of February. So earlier in the spring season tends to be better. Inventory tends to be low. So there's less competition, but yet people are really out there. And we're feeling the headwinds of all that right now. We're getting a lot of good activity on our coming soon listings. We have one that went live today that I'm very optimistic about. The market feels strong right now.
I had always heard that summer was the right time. So is that too late?
Summer used to be the right time when I got started, 25 years ago. But since then it's really changed. I think a few things have happened. One, I think enough money has come into Austin that a lot of people leave town, and so I think people aren't really paying attention. But from about late February to May tends to be our hottest season, and when we see the most transactions. And from there it really slows down.
Cool. Well, I want to acknowledge we've got some friends on the screen with us. Thank you guys for tuning in. We see some familiar faces and friends from Curator and around. So I just want to do a quick tech check-in. If you can hear us, give us a thumbs up. If the video's okay, thumbs up. And Sarah, just so you know who's helping us behind the scenes, I can't tell on the laptop if anybody's giving us thumbs up or not. So,
okay.
But anyway, thank you guys for joining us, and I'm hoping that everything is coming through okay. So thank you for tuning in. So if someone were to sell in the spring, should they expect to see a price difference, Paul?
So traditionally, when we run the numbers for the spring versus the fall, we see about an 8% difference.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it really is. And smaller homes, the last time I ran it, it was about a 7.5, and then full size, like family size homes, it was about 8%. But every year is totally different. I don't know what this year is going to bring. We have, interest rates are going up, so that may make a little bit of a difference. But regardless, I think it's incredibly important for people to prepare their homes for sale. We know that makes a difference, and stage them if they can do it.
Well, so if spring is the right time for sellers, if in case we have any buyers watching, what's the advice for buyers on timing if they're looking to buy something this year?
Yeah, so I had this conversation yesterday, and August, September, October, all the way through to right about now, and I think now is better than 2 months from now. But as we get into the prime time for sellers, it gets worse for buyers and better for sellers.
Cool. All right, so let's talk about it. I'm ready. I'm going to put my home on the market by what you said, February 20 something.
We don't have much time.
Mid to late February. Well, it's a month away. What advice do you have for people? What should they be doing to get ready to go on the market?
I think the first thing to do is to get a consult with a really good realtor and to come up with a home prep plan. And every home is different, but I do recommend that you stage, that you get a pre-inspection, that you make sure you have not an average realtor, but an excellent one, especially this season. Specific cosmetic improvements, you'll have to figure that out with boots on the ground. And I know your house really doesn't need anything because I live here.
Well, I'm thinking about the closets, the purging, the cleaning. Yeah. All the things that.
Well, sure. You need to declutter. You need to start packing. You need to get ready to go. You probably need to do some paint touch up here and there.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm thinking about our walls with 2 little kids, all the handprints and the smudges and the scrapes, the paint job. So painting, basic maintenance. Like this is probably a good time to get your gutters cleaned, to get your HVAC and stuff checked out too, right?
Yeah, and I think all that gets uncovered probably in the pre-inspection. But I think some general, make it show ready and super nice. You want it to be as close to new as it can be.
I know some of those things can be expensive. What if I don't have the money to get my home ready for sale? If I can't afford to do some of those things, should I just say, wait a minute, I'm not going to sell? It's my East Texas coming out. Should we not sell?
I love you for it.
So what would the advice be there?
Well, thanks to Compass, we have the concierge program, and I think I'd certainly go that route where we come up with an action plan for the cosmetic improvements, and Compass will help finance that, or will finance it, and you end up paying that back at closing.
Wow. So you can do things like the painting and the staging without coming out of pocket?
All of it. And right now there's no cap on that. So like you can do as much as you want, but don't get carried away. It's not funny money. You'll still owe it later on, but it's quite a gift, and I think a wonderful tool for people who have equity in their home and who don't have cash that they want to peel off and use, or just don't have cash at all.
Well, can we dig into that and break it down a little bit?
Of course.
So you mentioned equity, like what's it take to qualify for the concierge program? I'm assuming not anybody is going to be able to go ask the concierge program to give them some money to help fund their.
Yeah, there are some, and for me it all really boils down to equity. But so if you're a foreclosure, or if you're if you don't have equity, if you're a flip, that's not okay. You have to have had the home for a period of time, and
you can't have liens either, can you?
You can't have any outstanding liens. So I think you can have a mortgage, but you can't have some new lien that's creeping up and eating up all your equity that we can't see. We basically, Compass, we want to make sure that you can pay that money back at the closing table.
Well, no, and historically, you've always kind of said, hey, if you don't like working with me, you can get out anytime. Yep. Imagine if someone's loaning you money to cover costs to sell your home, that changes a little bit, right? Like is there a listing expectation? It
does. So there are a couple of you have to list with us for a year. Hopefully you sell well before that. If you decide to stop marketing your home, then you owe the money back to Compass promptly. There's no profit on that. It's exactly the same amount that they would have paid to the vendors. So there's no markup on that, but we would want our money back,
We can talk about that a little bit more too. So tell me a little bit, you said the ideal seller is someone that has equity or I'm just thinking back to you were walking down the street the other day, putting some signs in the yard of some homes in Crestview and over in North Allendale, and you came back and you were all excited because you're like, there's so many people out there that could really benefit from the concierge program. And these were houses that already had signs in the yard, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit like what makes you be able to identify whether someone might be a good candidate for the concierge program?
Well, so before concierge, we had a lot of homes where we would list or whatever, and people just didn't want to do they didn't want to spend the money on the improvements that were necessary to get everything they could for their house, and they would just go with what they have. I mean, you might have an estate sale, you might have an elderly couple that's just like, hey, I'm done with that. I don't want to spend the money. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And now there's just really no reason not to do it, because it doesn't, if you buy into the fact that it actually makes you more money down the road, why wouldn't you borrow this money? It doesn't cost you anything to do it, and then pay that money back at closing along with our commission.
Well, we work primarily Central Austin. And so I'm thinking about, a lot of the Central Austin homes are older homes. They're the homes with character that have soul. They're the cute little bungalows and the cottages. Or even in Northwest Hills where we live, a lot of these are first-time owners that have owned their homes since they were built in 1969, 1970. These are, to me, they need a new light fixture. They need a fresh coat of paint. I mean, they just need some superficial stuff. Like the bones are great. The structure's great. These are homes that have really got a lot of potential, but they just need to be shined up a little bit. So is that a good fit for the concierge?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's what it's really made for. I mean, at the end of the day, we want our sellers to make absolutely as much money as they can. And this is the way you do it. You prepare your home in a way that makes it shine and makes it so that a buyer can just move in and be super happy. So I'm like crazy excited because it means more money for our clients and people that couldn't do this. It's always sad to me when people don't maximize,
their profit.
Yeah, for real.
Because it's an investment for so many people. Their home is their primary money making tool.
Yeah, it's retirement. It's
right.
all of it.
Well, what's it cover? So, if I'm like, okay, I'm all in, Paul. I want to sell my house. I'm ready. Let's do this concierge thing. What else covered? Do I get to redo the whole bathroom? Do I get to have a brand new kitchen? I could think after doing that, I might not want to move. But like, so what's covered?
That happens sometimes. But what Compass has outlined is they're not going to do anything that's structural. They're going to do things that are more cosmetic in nature. So that might be paint, and I'm unclear if flooring counts or not, but we're going to find out and make sure.
The FAQs say flooring is not covered.
Yeah, I saw that, but then I saw elsewhere where it was. So
okay.
I need to drill in on that for folks. But like it's all cosmetic stuff. So paint, staging, I think is a huge one. There's a ton of people out there who just don't want to pay for staging, even though they know it works, because it's it's expensive and it's hard to pull that money out of your pocket. What else? So landscaping. Landscaping is a wonderful thing, making that yard shine. So when people get out of the car, they can have their first ooh as they walk up, and that's the beginning of a sold home. That's cool. Yeah.
And how do you decide? Like, if I were wanting to do this, how do I decide where to best spend my money? And if I've got to pay it back, I just don't want to go spending willy-nilly, right? So like, how do I figure out what's the best place for me to invest my concierge dollars?
Traditionally, that's been my job outside of our house.
Okay.
But people are always asking me, hey, Paul, what should I fix and what shouldn't I? And that's a boots on the ground thing. But generally, you want everything to look like it works, and it should work, and things should be light and bright and tight. I think painting almost for everybody is a good move. And I think staging's for almost everybody a good move.
Well, some things have higher ROI. So like on landscaping, what's the ROI on landscaping?
Yeah, landscaping, which I usually just tell people to put some little tiny flowers out there, but landscaping, according to the reports we read, is about 100% return on investment. Now, that doesn't mean go absolutely bananas and you get 100% back, but that's what the studies show.
Cool. And you have some pretty strong feelings about exterior paint colors too.
I do. So we had years ago, our first flip. We bought this house that was what we call internally Kiss of Death Blue, and I'll
send you a paint chip for Kiss of Death Blue. It's not on the top 2019 paint colors.
No,
by the
it's
way.
not. We trimmed the trees back, painted it, made a couple of changes inside, and we turned a really good profit. And so like paint, these cosmetic changes can make a world of difference. And it really is that you found experience-wise that there's a certain blue color that really does not sell well. Every time I listed that color, it didn't go well. so avoid Kiss of Death. It might be superstition, who knows, but I think it's real. All right. So we've got this new concierge program. And Sarah's cueing me that there's some questions, and I can't see what they are. So Sarah, off camera, can you tell us what one of the questions is?
Well, they're not questions, but JJ Johannes said staging is excellent advice, and Dove says hi.
Oh, so hey JJ and hey Dove.
Thanks, guys.
Good seeing you guys. Thank you for joining us.
Hey man.
Thank you for joining us. If I wanted to do this concierge program thing, what's the process, right? Like, is it what hoops do we have to jump through to get the ball rolling? Yeah, so basically you make application. We need to make sure that you have plenty of equity in your house. There aren't any outstanding liens. We have vendors we can recommend. You could also use any vendor of your choosing. They just have to be insured and have a W-9. I'm unclear about what a W-9 really is, but like you need those two things. Well, it takes about 72 hours to get approved or to have it go through the. Yeah, so once you submit Compass, their goal is to respond in 72 hours, but that's not a contract item, but that's what we aim for. And then after that, you get a bid from the contractor. Everybody signs off on that in the Compass agreement,
and then work can start. So it's pretty easy. And as you need to pay the vendor, say if they're taking draws or whatever, you have a form that you authorize, and then we send that off to Compass, and they pay the vendor. So it's really pretty cool.
A couple of things I want to add. I had read that you do, when you apply, need to have done some legwork up front, and you need to submit an exhibit with your list of vendors and their quotes for what the work is going to cost. Mm-hmm. So we really want to make sure that you've done a little bit of legwork up front, got some bids and estimates from your contractors, and we attach that and include that as an exhibit with what we're submitting. And also in terms of who does the work, what I was saying is that they definitely got to be insured, and they need to be no, that's a tax thing, honey. They have to be insured, have the proper be bonded insured. They've got to have the right licenses. You've got to use a licensed plumber and all those things. And they have to pull permits. Sometimes when people are doing flips and things like that, they want to sometimes get around those city rules and not pull permits. And you definitely would need to go through all the proper channels and make sure that you pull permits for any work that you're having done that might be required. Also, the vendor does have to. I know, I'm a lawyer. You're looking at me like I'm crazy. This is
it has to be a legitimate deal, and you got to do all the right stuff.
Sorry, got to cover all the bases. And then the other thing is that the vendor also has to complete a hold harmless agreement. So the vendor's got to also be agreeable to going through this process of getting everything submitted and improved. You mentioned earlier also though that there's no cap. So tell me. Really? No cap?
Well, if you go beyond 3%, there's a review committee that steps in and
3% of what?
3% of the projected sales price.
Okay.
So right now there's no cap, but there's a potential review at 3%. So there may be a cap in the future. In the documentation, it says that there's currently no cap, which I think is exciting.
This is a new program, right? So that's why we don't really know every little detail. It's not.
We haven't done it 100 times.
Yeah, we will.
We're looking for people to do it with.
That's cool. You mentioned also the getting people paid. I just wanted to clarify that, as you're getting the ball rolling, the deposits and the down payments and things for the vendors, from what I've read, it takes about 72 hours. But once someone completes a standard invoice, it's about 10 days to get that vendor paid. The thing I thought was really cool is that the homeowner doesn't have to be the middleman.
Right.
So the vendor submits their invoices through the concierge program, and then they get paid directly by check. So it's not like the homeowner is having to manage all that, which is nice.
Yeah, we do send a document to the homeowner as an approval for that dollar amount. It's their real money, so we don't want to
I guess that's a good safety.
Be doing things behind the curtain, We want to be transparent and open, do the right things.
So, all right, I'm pretending I'm a seller here. We've gone through this concierge program, and you've done your storytelling and your beautiful design and your amazing marketing, and my hold's sold, right? Yeah. Now what? How do I pay back all this money?
Well, at closing, there will be you pay it back out of the funds from closing is the short of it. After we high five and we're real excited at closing.
Champagne toast.
Yeah, champagne toast, all that good stuff.
Cool. So I really never have to come out of pocket for it.
No.
It comes out of my proceeds.
Right. So when we make you more money than you would have made with your home unimproved, some of those funds go back and you just get the profit.
Now I'm gonna dig in here for a minute. So the market is potentially shifting in the next year or so. The days, I think a lot of sellers would be like, my home sells itself, people are competing for my house. I don't really have to put all this effort and time into it.
Sure.
Is that
still the case?
That's still the case.
In some instances it can be. Price fixes all problems. So if you dramatically underprice a home, sure, that happens. And people will come and get it. But the market is definitely slowing. We have seen shorter hot cycles in the market the last couple of years. With interest rates coming up, things are starting to cool. Although, this spring seems to be, it's not spring yet, but this since the beginning of the year, things to really be taking off.
Well, it seems to me that if we ever, it did flip and we reached a seasonal time where we needed to sellers weren't, the market wasn't in the seller's favor, and it was definitely more of a buyer's market, that the concierge program is ideal for times like that. So then you're going to be able to, sorry, we have
That's a call probably about concierge.
a call coming in. That it seems to me that one of those, the concierge program in a more of a buyer's market is going to be even more valuable to try to give you an edge, if you would, compared to some of those competing homes on the market. Those other homes on your street that are for sale that don't take advantage of the concierge program
Absolutely.
aren't going to look as good as yours.
People want to move into homes that are done. People, look, it costs a lot of money to come live in Austin, Texas, and they need to go pay those bills that make it so that we can charge a lot of money for homes. So they need to be nice. People want to move in and start living here, enjoying Austin, going and seeing some live music, going to Bartlett's, doing all the fun things.
Cool. All right. Life sometimes happens. Let's say I've made these improvements and I don't want to move. I don't want to sell my home anymore. Or I found out somebody gets sick and it's not a good time to move after all. Now what? I've committed to this listing agreement. I've invested in this concierge program. What happens? Yeah,
so on the listing agreement, that's real easy. We just turn it off and we take you off the market. The not so easy part is that you have to pay back what we paid the vendor, and you have to do it promptly. I read 15 days, and I think you just read promptly. But you just have to give the money back.
Well, you have to be able to give the money back too. So you need to be prepared for that potential. And the same thing, I guess, would happen, not with you, of course, because your homes always sell for top dollar and quickly without languishing on the market. But if someone did not successfully get their home sold, same deal?
Yeah, well, you have up to a year while your home's being marketed. And when you quit marketing, then you need to pay the money back. Is the down and dirty.
JJ's asking us if there's an ideal price range for concierge, in your opinion.
It's a great question. I think it depends on the submarket. So I think whatever you do, whatever improvements you make, you need to be able to make sure that makes the seller more money. But I don't think that there's an ideal price range. I think on the very high end, it could be really useful. I know some really high end homes that could really use a lot of help with cosmetic improvements. The floor plan's there, all that's great. And if you just go in and you spend, say, 20 grand, you might make another 100, 150. On the lower end, of course, you make less money, but it's also useful there. I think across all markets, making improvements and making homes so you can just move in and enjoy them is a good investment.
I'm just wondering, is it more of value to people who are perhaps cash poor, that don't have the cash on hand to make some of those improvements? And that can be across price points, right? So you might have your money invested so that you're not able to access it quickly to make the improvements or changes that need to be made.
Or you just don't want to.
Or you don't want to.
It's also cleaner.
Like staging.
And I'm not an accountant or anything or a tax guy, but I keep thinking that having it all be on the HUD settlement form at the end of the day might make it easier for your accountant to keep track of all the cost of improvements. So there's a lot of things that I think are really cool about this. I think it's cleaner, neater. I don't think it's all people who don't have cash, but I think those are the guys that I see, at least, really needing this. I think people who do have plenty of cash may want it because it's easier and you don't have to pull out of an investment, like you were saying. Mm-hmm. So I think all that's good.
Cool. Well, I think we've covered it. Does anybody have any last minute questions? Just drop your comments below. And if you think about it and have questions later, feel free to send us a direct message and we'll respond that way as well. Sarah, do you have any comments on your end down there? Okay, cool.
Yeah, and if you guys know of anybody that has a house that needs to be improved before they go to market, I'd love to visit with them, talk to them about the program, and see if they're a good fit.
For sure. So here we are, honey. Kudos, John. Episode number 1 in the books, and we'll be doing this every Friday on Facebook Live, and you guys are welcome to tune in. If you have a topic that you want us to cover, let us know. We may also bring some guests on to cover issues like lending, insurance, super sexy stuff like that. Maybe an interior designer. That's more my thing.
Can I just say you look great in your Compass shirt?
Oh, well, thank you, honey, but let's have that conversation offline. All right, you guys, thanks for tuning in. And we look forward to seeing you next Friday for episode 2 of Calls with Paul.
And Mark.
All right, take care.
Bye. All right, was that terrible, honey?